Good morning, fellow gardeners, those who are just curious, those who have tuned in by mistake, and those that are watching us for some sort of voyeuristic reason. Yes, we are Garden America. Good morning. Welcome to the weekend. I'm Brian Main. We've got Tiger Palafox. We've got John Begnesco. And a lot of people already have tuned into our Facebook page, welcoming those on Biz Talk Radio. You're a week behind, but the information is still pertinent, as Tiger likes to say. This is October 2nd, or as John and Tiger like to say, October 2nd of the year 2021. Good morning, fellas. October 2nd. What do you think? John, what's going on, buddy?
You're not even using your cheat sheet over there.
Nope.
You used to have a cheat sheet that would say what Tiger and I always say, what we like to say.
I've committed it to memory. And a lot of people tuned in on Facebook Live. Hey, this is going to be a good show. Melinda Myers is back with us with
bulbs.
a lot more
She's going to be talking about bulbs.
good information. Bulbs, and we've already got somebody online here that says, I want to hear about bulbs today. Somebody, who is it? Somebody in Austin? Who was that? Cheryl?
Oh, yes, that was Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl in Austin wanting to hear about bulbs. So how timely, right?
Yeah.
Did you plant some more Post-its to your Post-it garden there, Brian? I feel like there's more than there were last week. And those big white sheets, I don't feel were there last time.
They've been there. It's kind of Twilight Zone-ish because I think that they're multiplying on their own. I think it's a weird thing.
You don't even put them up there?
Nope.
They just keep going?
I come in to work each day, and there they are.
Do you remember the old commercial where the ladies were sitting there and she was talking about now that she's put all her photos in a file and they're all on the wall, she can keep track of them. And the other ladies are sitting down and they're going, it's supposed to be like Facebook, but that's her file. It's everything posted up on the wall.
Oh,
And the lady goes, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And she replies, I unfriend you.
Yes.
But that's what your Post-its remind me of.
yeah.
You know, most of them I don't even need anymore. But then, now, here's the way I think. As soon as I pull it down,
Then
next
you'll
week I'll
need
need
it.
it.
Yeah.
No, I shouldn't have done that.
Well, my point was, there's a thing called a file you can put on your computer, and you can keep it there.
There's notes. There's even a note thing.
I know, and this is unlike me, but I like it because I think it adds, well, look, it's adding to the conversation, isn't it?
There you go.
Even our viewers last week had pointed that out.
Yeah.
We've had, I think it's 4 days or maybe 5 when it's done of 90-degree plus temperatures.
Yeah.
And winds blowing up in Fallbrook. I don't think it's been that hot down here, right?
It has not been that hot.
But it's been hot, but not like that.
Yeah. And it's been dry. The winds, like you're saying,
Right.
you feel it in the air.
Yeah, constant watering. But then everything's going to cool off. And I think we even have a day coming up where in Fallbrook the high is going to be in the 60s.
Ooh, nice.
So
It's going to
weather.
cool off, but for how long?
Might snow at your house.
You know, you're a tease. It's going to cool off, and you get
a
that
whole week. at
fall
least.
feeling, and then all of a sudden the next week it's 105.
October's always hot.
Your home state was in the news last week.
Michigan?
Did you see the Ryder Cup, the golf tournament?
No.
No, it was
Yeah,
in Michigan.
State of Michigan.
Yeah,
Golf,
beautiful,
huh?
beautiful backdrop. Yeah, so
there's your golf.
yeah. Well, but I mean, you know,
Golf
from
for
a
this
garden,
weekend. Thank
from
you,
a
Ted. The
gardening,
golf update.
from a gardening and weather standpoint, it was spectacular as far as like the, you know, the course in Michigan. It made Michigan look really good, is what I'm trying to say.
There you go.
Somebody was telling me this week that they had visited Michigan. It was friends of ours, now that I think of it. Her and her husband went to Michigan 2 weeks ago, and they were saying how beautiful the state was.
Yeah.
That they like drove to the Upper Peninsula, Mackinac Island. And
Probably
all
the
that.
best time of year to go, right?
Yeah, that or spring is nice too.
Yeah.
You know, Tim Allen used to do commercials for Michigan,
Yeah.
for the tourism.
Oh, really?
Visit Michigan.
Well, wasn't that where the show was? The home improvement show was?
Was it?
I forget, maybe.
I think so.
That was a good
Isn't
show.
he from Michigan anyway? So maybe there was a tie-in with the show. Hey, if somebody out there knows, let us know. If you know, let us know.
Do you know what people from Michigan are called?
Michiganites.
No,
Michigonians.
no,
Michiganians?
no,
Michigans.
no.
Lake people?
Michiganders.
Michiganders.
Yep.
Because you're next to Wisconsin.
Do you know what you're called if you're from the Upper Peninsula? You should know this one.
The Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Right, and the reason you should know this is because there's a singing group with the same name.
Well, wait a minute. Hold on here. Give me some hints. I want to get this.
Begins with a Y.
The Yardbirds.
No.
The group begins with a Y.
They had two huge hits. One was the second week of Deer Camp, and the other was Rusty Chevrolet.
Okay.
Wow.
I've been in this business a while.
Huge hits.
I used to be a top 40 rock disc jockey. I don't recall those songs.
It's by the Youpers.
Never heard of the Youpers. Okay.
Oh, wow.
Too bad we don't play music anymore. You could play Rusty Chevrolet.
Okay. Well, you wanted John on the show. You got him.
Yeah.
The Youpers. Now, I'm going to assume the Youpers were a very regional group in Michigan.
Oh, Upper Peninsula, they were big.
Okay. The Youpers.
Do you remember when the Beatles landed in New York?
Yes, and all the hysteria.
Yeah.
And they thought that a president or somebody else was landing at the same time.
And that's how it was when the Youpers came to town.
That's exactly. When the Youpers went to Bruce Crossing, all 500 residents turned out.
Are you saying there was such a thing as Youpermania?
Yeah.
Was. Do you know, now we're getting off the subject.
That's okay. This is a warm-up for the show.
But my wife's family they all played music. They all played different instruments. There was like 8 brothers, and none of them ever got married, and they all lived together. But they were really musically talented. And during the bicentennial, they were asked to go to Washington.
1976 for those keeping track.
Right, to play at the bicentennial because, they represented a certain class of music and they were regionally famous and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they didn't go because they had never left the Upper Peninsula.
This is part of your family?
No, my wife's family.
Well, but you're related by marriage.
Yeah. So it's your family.
Yeah, and actually it was my wife's stepmother's brothers.
Yeah, stop trying to distance yourself. You're related. Yeah.
The commercial we were talking about earlier, Carla said that was one of her favorite commercials of all time.
Oh, the Facebook one?
Yeah.
That's funny. When Facebook used to need commercials, now they don't.
I'm going to unfriend you.
Hey,
Okay.
Dana, by the way, points out that she used to play the Youpers on. They used to play the Youpers on Hudson and Bauer.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm looking at her comment on Facebook. Yeah, but
I'm
that's you and
surprised.
Hudson and Bauer and Dana and KFMB those days. Very interesting. Okay, so we have some garden questions here. We're going to get back on track, and the first way we're going to do that is to have John's quote of the week.
Oh, now?
Oh, yes.
Before
Now I tell
the
you.
break?
Sure, that's what they all say.
Well, let's see. In order to do that. Okay. The quote of the week is, for anyone who lives in the oak and maple area of New England, there's a perennial temptation to plunge into a purple sea of adjectives about October.
Give me one October adjective, John.
And what's a purple one?
Well, like purple prose. Do you know what purple prose is?
I had to look this up. I'll be honest.
Well,
After reading,
I know what pros are when you
Purple
read
prose is just going overboard in describing something. And
it's an exaggeration.
This was from garden writer Hal Borland. Yeah, just like there's not enough superlatives to talk about what's going on with the colors in New England this time of year.
I do like this time of the year getting into fall. I just wish San Diego would cool off a little faster.
Well, the mornings are cool.
Yeah,
Yes.
It was chilly this morning.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but I've noticed because of the heat this last week, especially with temperatures in the 90s, it's like I spend all day watering, but then the next morning I go out and it's still damp.
wet. Yep.
And what I'm realizing it's because of the shorter days.
Yep.
Even though it's hot, it's not hot for as long a period of time.
Yeah, evaporate all that water out of there,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, this is the tough time of year because, people do water. This is when you begin to overwater things because if you don't check the base of the plant and it's still wet and then you dump more water on it,
Right.
like you're saying, you think, oh, it's hot and dry like we were saying. Yeah, big
that's
time for
true with
overwatering.
my patio because I watered Sunday, and then Wednesday came around. I thought, I better get out there.
Yeah.
And it was still damp.
So that's your schedule? Sunday, Wednesday,
Now,
2
usually
days
this time
a week?
of year it would be like every other day.
Okay.
So because it was Wednesday, I thought I lost a day. I better get out there. Things had dried up.
And it wasn't
And
bad.
it wasn't dried. It was still wet, moist.
Because of living in the same spot for 30 years before I just moved,
Right.
I never had room for a drought-tolerant garden. So even though I knew about drought-tolerant plants and California natives, I just didn't have anywhere to put them.
So they don't like it, but they'll tolerate it. Yeah, I'll tolerate it, but I don't like it.
But my son, now we have plenty of room for it and the proper area for it. But my son and his daughter, who were living in our guest house on the property, planted a hillside in all kinds of drought-tolerant plants.
Guess what? It's break time.
I'm not finished.
So hold on, because we're going to pick this up.
Oh, you have to remind me what I was talking
You're
about.
talking about your son, right?
Drought-tolerant
Okay.
plants.
All right.
Okay, so we're going to take a break. We've got a couple of questions and comments we want to get to. Melinda Myers is going to be on deck. She is next. I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox, John Bagnasco. Welcome to your weekend. Welcome to Saturday with Garden America. A lot happening. Stay right where you are. Also, those on Biz Talk Radio. And just like that, we are back on Biz Talk Radio, back on Facebook Live. As we continue this morning, I think we got all the business out of the way, gentlemen, right?
Do we want to finish John's
Yes.
thought process?
The other business. Now, John, we left off with John's son.
Yeah,
Plant.
before I get to that, though, I see that Susie, who's in the White Mountains of Arizona, do you know that area? Because you were
A little
up
bit.
in Flagstaff.
Northern Arizona, yes.
Right. She says that they've had their first frost.
Ooh.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah,
Because you're looking at a high elevation.
So she had to pick her green tomatoes, and that was something we used to do in Michigan. And now that my son's moved to Indianapolis, he's going to have to get used to. We would pick all the green tomatoes, wrap them in newspaper, and then put them in the cellar.
And they would ripen?
Yeah, they would ripen. They were still
Wow.
better than store-bought tomatoes.
And that's if you have a cellar, which we don't out here. Anyway,
well, the
John,
cellar was hooked onto the basement.
so John, quickly wrap up and we'll bring on Melinda.
Okay, so anyway, I was talking about the drought-tolerant plants, and my son had planted a whole hillside behind his house in drought-tolerant plants. And one of the things he put in was about 10 ceanothus, the California lilacs. And they started growing like crazy. And then right around July, one died. And then progressively, every other one died until there's only one left now. And when I talk about growing really well, they probably grew to 5 to 6 times the size they were when he put them in.
Wow.
So I was going to ask Tiger what was wrong, and my thought is that they were under irrigation during the summer. Would that have done it?
Yeah. In terms of, those kinds of plants when you are planting them, they hadn't been there for a year, right? They have not?
No, they were planted in the spring and
Right.
then just started growing like crazy during the summer.
Right.
Everything else there grew fine. There were acacias.
How hot does it get in the cellar?
in the cellar?
Aren't you talking about in the cellar?
No. What are you? Where are you?
You said we talked about cellars, and I said we don't have cellars out here. You recall that? I looked at Tiger and said
And that's
that.
when we were talking about green tomatoes.
This
Right,
is
but
about-
I wasn't done with green tomatoes.
But you can go back on this tomorrow and find out where we were.
I'm gonna mark this right here
Oh,
as
geez.
No.
from cellars to.
Yeah.
We've been talking about the hillside beside my son's house with the ceanothus.
Right.
That's not in a cellar.
But what was the cellar conversation before that?
That's where we put our green tomatoes.
Right, and that segued into what?
What he was
No,
talking about before the break.
Cheryl in Texas mentioned that green tomato chutney's the bomb.
Okay, you know what?
Does that
done.
help you?
I'm done. I'm done. I'm going home. You guys
Good.
do the rest
Tiger
of the
and
show.
Yeah.
You know what? I have a feeling that Melinda is just going, what in the world am I
Like
even waiting
Joining.
Are you done now with your story, or are we
for?
going to talk about?
No, I'm just going to stop.
Are you going to talk about something else? I'm not going to pay attention to.
We'll talk about it again after Melinda's off the.
Yeah,
off
Tiger
the
was
phone.
going to tell me why
Yeah.
those plants died.
Yeah.
You know what this means, don't you? We're going to go to the Garden America Satellite Newsmaker line. And enough of this falderall.
Oh.
And bring on our guest today, Tiger.
Yes. Good morning, Melinda. Please save us from what we're doing right now. We have no clue what's happening over here.
Good morning. Okay, I don't know if I can save you, but it has been quite an interesting little journey, just a few minutes I've been listening in.
That was for your entertainment.
I bet Melinda
Okay,
knows
well,
the,
that works.
knows the Yoopers.
Yeah. Oh, goodness.
And John's talking about Yoopers, and I thought a Yooper was a bug.
Melinda, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing good.
Yeah?
I'm feeling like maybe I had way more coffee than you did. You guys might need to caffeinate a little bit more.
Yeah.
That is the truth. That is the truth. But where you're at right now, it's already what, 9 a.m., 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. So,
Yeah.
so I got a head start.
Yeah, you're
That's
mid-morning.
true.
You're wide awake right now.
You bet.
So we brought you on this weekend to chat about getting ready for those spring flowering bulbs. And that's always a funny thing with gardening because you're planning so far ahead, right?
Oh, you bet. And one of the reasons I'm such a fan of spring flowering bulbs is you put them in the fall. And I have to say, for me, I'm usually planting when it's 9 degrees, kind of cracking through the frost. Because like any good gardener, I buy more than I have time to put in the ground. But they always come back. And by the time they're up in the spring, for those of us in the Midwest, in the North especially, where winters can be brutal and long, that first sign of color from those spring flowering bulbs is like we made it through. And for me, the bulbs are up and looking beautiful before the weeds, so I can enjoy them without feeling like, I need to get out there and weed so I can see the flowers. So for me, and a lot of gardeners, I think they bring a lot of joy. And I think it's that magical thing, no matter how long you garden, right? You put something in the ground, and when it works, it's amazing. Even if you do it every year, it's like, yes, we were successful.
Well, also, it's also like a nice, how do you say it? A good indicator for spring is coming. What are the crocus are one of the first bulbs usually to kind of break through in the early spring. And, it's that idea that when spring is coming, you start to see those plants emerge. You start to see the bulbs begin to grow and flower. It's a little bit like there's light at the end of the tunnel, right, Melinda?
Oh, you bet. You bet. And, you guys will have to give me your perspective since you have the endless growing season, but I'm sure even those signals with those plants that you can grow that emerge your spring, whether it's, spring flowering perennials or things that bloom at different times, it signals that start of a new season and a chance to, I think we all have our list of things we want to improve on, do differently. And you're right. I think the bulbs signal, okay, it's a start. We made it through winter, and it's a start for a new season to, make those changes we want too, or just enjoy the changes we made the previous season.
Yeah, and one thing you've talked about in the past, and for the people that are kind of new to gardening, and even the more experienced gardeners, bulbs are a great way, an economical way to really enhance your landscape in an easy fashion by adding color, by adding different things, different elements to the landscape. Because as you mentioned, you can purchase a whole bunch of bulbs, for a lot less money that you can buy the plants, get them in, and then in the spring or in the fall they come up. What are some tips for people? Because I think people think like, oh, it's a bulb, like everything that it needs is within that plant. I don't need to provide it any help. It should just come up by itself. But what are some tips for people that maybe haven't planted bulbs before?
Great point, Tiger. They are fairly self-contained, but we want to set them up for longevity, especially things like daffodils that naturalize and grow and expand, and we want to have them there for decades. And so soil prep is always important no matter what plants you're growing. And if you have heavier soils, adding organic matter helps improve drainage. And that's one of the things that kills bulbs. If you've got poorly drained soil that stays wet and soggy, you'll get root rot. And so adding organic matter. If you have sandy soil or very rocky and fast-draining soil, adding organic matter helps that hold the moisture. So you're not going to be watering as much. And in the fall, believe it or not, as we put, I know you know this, but it's amazing that we put the bulbs in and walk away, but they're putting down root growth. So they also need some nutrients.
Hey,
And-
Melinda, so sorry to interrupt you. I wasn't watching the clock. We're going to have to take a break here in just a minute. And you were just doing such a wonderful job of describing how the bulbs are growing. So when we get back, we'll continue talking with Melinda Myers.
Yeah, pick up on that thought. Those on Facebook Live, a lot of comments so far. So if you have any questions for Melinda or one of us, be sure to chime in on the Facebook page. Those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you. We've got some great sponsors coming up here during the break as we continue. Melinda Myers on this Saturday, October 2nd, Brian Main, John Bagnesco, Tiger Palafox here on Garden America. Welcome back to that very quick break on Facebook Live, a bit longer on Biz Talk Radio. Again, our guest is Melinda Myers today, talking about fall bulbs and perhaps other things that we should be doing or will be doing in our garden as we prepare ourselves. And we're going to continue because we had to interrupt Melinda before the break, Tiger.
Yeah, we were talking spring bulbs
spring
that
bulb.
you plant in the fall,
Right.
right? So before the break, Melinda was describing. So, Melinda, these bulbs actually produce roots in the ground, even though they're not growing, even though they're not growing leaves or anything like that. They actually are setting roots down in there?
You bet. And so that's one of the reasons when we put them in things like tulips, we want to wait for temperatures though to be in the 40s and 50s at night so that they put down the roots but they don't start growing upward, which can happen when we get one of those warm spells in the November, December. So we want to be careful that we time our planting correctly because we want them in the ground when the soil's warm. Even if the top is crusty and frozen, the soil's warm enough that they're putting down some roots. And so we want to make sure when we plant, not only if we prep the soil, but add some nutrients. And, you all know me, so of course I'm going to recommend Milorganite because it's low nitrogen. So it's not going to promote upward growth at planting. It has some non-leaching phosphorus, good for root development. And so by putting that down there, you've got the nutrients there when the bulb needs it, that you're not promoting excessive growth that could end up sprouting leaves. And, in a cold winter, that's not what you want to see. You want to wait for spring. And so adding some nutrients at the time of planting. Now, for established bulbs, if they're growing in flower beds or shrub borders where you're fertilizing, they're probably getting enough nutrients. If you think they need a nutrient boost, the time to fertilize those is when those leaves emerge in the spring. There's just been some research that found that's the most efficient time that the bulbs, will use the nutrients on existing plantings. But new plantings, you're in there anywhere, add the fertilizer. And one of the other benefits of Milorganite, it has organic matter, so you're also feeding the soil. So that's a good thing. And water. We want to make sure that we water it in to remove any air pockets, good contact with the soil. And again, it's putting down roots. They're going to need moisture. And a lot of the country, and I know I'm complaining to the wrong people, so bear with me, it's been drier than normal. And so, you want to make sure that soil stays moist until it freezes, not wet and soggy, but check on those new plantings and make sure that they get sufficient moisture before the ground freezes. And if your bulbs are subject to early sprouting, like you put them next to the house or they're in an area where in the past they've sprouted, once the ground freezes, for those of us in colder climates, throw some evergreen boughs on top. That'll keep the soil constantly cold and reduce the risk of early sprouting, during a winter thaw.
You could decorate for Christmas at the same time.
And I think evergreen boughs are so much more attractive than straw and marsh hay, right?
Yeah.
Hey, I had a silly question about Milorganite, perhaps. And my son, and the reason I'm thinking of this is that yesterday my son and his wife loaded up their trailer and their vehicles and are heading to Indianapolis, where they bought a home. And when we lived in Michigan, we would rather than putting salt on the walks, this was like 150 years ago, they would put down sulfate of ammonia. And the reason was in the spring, rather than putting salt that's going to kill plants in the soil. The sulfate of ammonia would be fertilizer. And I was just wondering, I'm sure you don't do this, but what if you threw down Milorganite for traction? Have you ever heard of doing that, or would that work?
Well,
I know
I
it's
think
not going to be like a salt.
I was gardening 150 years ago with you, John. I have heard of people doing it. Our concern is with anything going on the walkway, whether it's salt or fertilizer, if it gets washed into the storm sewer, we're adding things we shouldn't. And so I know people have done that in the past. A lot of the push has been for a lot of areas. Believe it or not, they're using beet juice.
What?
They're using sand. I worry about sand in some areas because if that ends up in the storm sewer, and then we have other issues. But, yeah, we always want to be careful. So, yes, some people have done that in the past. We typically try to recommend not putting Milorganite down on frozen soil just so it doesn't end up in the storm sewers. But you're right. That was a practice in the past. And there are some more plant-friendly de-icers. And I always try to get people shovel first. It's a good workout. And then if you do have to use a de-icing salt, use something that's more environmentally friendly. So, yeah, so that is a practice that there are probably still people doing it, John.
I think you had me at beet juice.
Yeah.
I know. It's amazing, isn't it? They're doing a lot of work. I think that's what I love about what we do. There's always something to learn from each other and new research and, these off-the-wall things where, who would think beet juice, So I'm not sure it's been economical, so I'm not sure that it's gone too far, but I know they're doing some research on some really unique products that are a little more environmentally friendly and help support our water quality rather than damage it.
I think if I had beet juice, my tendency would be to throw it outside.
That's how they found out it worked.
Yeah.
So somebody was
Accident.
like, "What am I going to do with this?" And they just threw it outside. Like, whoa! It melts the ice. That's amazing.
No wonder I'm not going to drink it.
One of our viewers on Facebook, one of our viewers on Facebook says that when her bulbs didn't come up, that her mother would say, "It's because you planted them upside down."
Yeah.
Oh, that's so funny.
And that's a great, her mom wasn't right, but it sounds like something a mom would say, right?
Right.
Yeah.
But if you plant them upside down, they will, the shoot will curl around and go upward, but
Right.
you're wasting a lot of energy getting it to curl upward. Animals are one of the big problems with bulbs.
Yeah.
Tulips, and some of those that the bulbs, that the animals like to eat. Crocus is a favorite. I've had good luck with crocus, little Tommies, Crocus thomasinianus, which I'd read was squirrel resistant, very skeptical. Planted those and other crocus under my street tree when I was in Milwaukee, and the squirrels lived in the tree, and they dug up and ate all the other crocus but these. So,
wow.
so it's one of those to try. I'm sure with any animal-resistant plant, if there's enough of them and they're hungry, they'll eat them. But if you love crocus and you're tired of the squirrels digging and munching on them, try the little Tommies. I've had good luck. I have them in my new yard. I planted them out in the grassy area, so they come up early, enjoy the blooms, and they're done by the time the grass is long and covering them. So it's kind of a cool way to add some color to the lawn as well.
Hey, Melinda, you mentioned something, and John, with the planting the bulb upside down, and I think when people go to a garden center and they see the bulb section and they see that chart where it says planting depth and all that information, it's kind of intimidating, I think, and people get worried, like, oh, am I going to plant this too deep and it's not going to, live?
Yeah.
Or if I plant it too shallow, will it not grow properly? It's kind of nice for you to hear you say, like, yeah, I mean, if you're off by an inch or two, or if you accidentally plant one upside down, it's not the end of the world with bulbs. And I think that's something that people get worried about is, because those plants that you put in the ground and you don't see them until they truly begin to grow, which is months and months later. So, it's kind of nice to know that, you can make some mistakes and they'll still survive, right?
Oh, exactly. And when I work with school groups, one of the reasons I love to plant spring flowering bulbs with kids is so they're in, let's say, 3rd or 5th grade and they plant them in the fall, they're going to come up when they're still in that same class. And so they get to see the rewards of their effort. So often school groups are planting gardens in the spring or summer in much of the country, and then those kids go to the next grade or maybe even to a different school, and they don't get to see, all the benefits of what they planted. And so it's a fun one to do, I think, for all of us. And they are very forgiving because there's a lot of what they need in that bulb. If you put them in the right place, you just increase success. And like you said, you can make a lot of mistakes and they'll still survive, which is, I think, part of gardening, right? You can do everything right and something happens and it doesn't work and you can break all the rules and you're like, oh, it worked anyway.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's a leap of faith, but boy, once those bulbs come up, it's amazing. And some years we have a cooler spring and they last for weeks. And some years, the temperatures rise right as those tulips or daffodils are starting to bloom and they're done in a short period, but you still got that burst of color early. And I like to blend them with my perennials. So for two reasons. One, I get some color. And then when they're done blooming and the perennials are starting to grow, they cover the leaves. So I don't have to look at the declining leaves of my bulbs. And I'm not going to braid them, let me tell you. And, add a little raffia bow. That's not happening in my garden. And so it's a great way to extend your bloom time in your garden and minimize your work.
Awesome. Hey, Melinda, we're going to take another break, and when we get back, we'll continue talking with Melinda Myers.
And as always, your questions, your comments are welcomed right there on our Facebook page as we continue with Facebook Live. Again, Melinda Myers is going to be back with more of Melinda and hopefully your questions, your comments here on Garden America. Happy Saturday, Brian Main, John Begnasker, Tiger Palafox, back after these messages, and these messages only on Biz Talk Radio. We are back from that break, and again, if you're tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, this is last week's program. But, of course, all the information is always pertinent, and you've got news coming up top of the hour. Hour number 2 with your friends here on Garden America, 6 minutes after. And for the rest of us, we keep on rolling right along, Tiger, with Melinda Myers, bulbs, fall planting. And, again, at least we know we can make a few mistakes. There is always room for a little bit of error here and there.
Yeah, and, I think that, with the whole bulb topic, in gardening, we've seen it kind of wane over the years, but now with this influx of people that want to garden again, I think we'll kind of see that come back because, as Melinda's mentioned, it's an economical way, it's an easy way. You're not going to find these plants in a nursery. You just can't find a lot of bulbs sometimes because usually in a nursery you're buying a plant when it's in bloom. And so, therefore, like, your selection isn't good. I mean, we talk about this with the dahlias that, you're only going to get, to be picked from 5 different dahlias at a nursery, when in reality there's thousands of dahlias out there if you were to go online and, be able to order the bulbs online. And you mentioned schools. Are there any edible bulbs that you would plant now as well, Melinda? Or
Onions.
Yeah?
Oh, and shallots. And garlic.
Right.
Even my garlic bulbs just arrived. I ordered some online just because I always forget or never get to the garden center to buy them, and that way they're shipped to me when it's time to plant. So that's a great point, especially with so many people doing edibles. And garlic is, even for those of us in colder climate, is they're really pretty easy to grow. You plant them, ground freezes, mulch them thick for insulation, and then leave that mulch in place, and it keeps the weeds down because garlic really likes moisture and doesn't like weeds. I have to admit my garlic was a little smaller than normal this year because it's been drier for us and I didn't water as much, and the weeds did really well, but I still got a good crop of garlic, enough to share, and that's another one. And shallots are fun to plant as well. I've got some Saffron Crocus. I'm going for that. My
All
significant other's like, we're going to be rich. Saffron.
Yeah.
Yeah, not happening, honey.
No.
But
Well, you have a lot of acreage. Put in an acre of saffron crocus.
And then I'm going to send them out harvesting those little stamens, and that tree will be shot down really quick. But but part of why I grew them is I just wanted to see if I could. And last year I had some blooms. I'm still waiting for them to break through the ground. So I'm not sure if the ground squirrels got them or if it's just like they're a little slow to emerge. So you're right. And those are, I think, once you've built success, you know, if you're new, maybe start with daffodils. Easy. The animals leave them alone, right? And then tulips are great. Animals love them. And if you're in an area with mild winters, you're going to need to look for low chill, or you're going to need to get pre-chilled bulbs so that you get the bloom and treat them like annuals. But then try some of those other things, you know, that are just fun to eat as well. Good point, Tiger. I got to get out and plant mine today. I hadn't even thought about the whole garlic and shallots and all those fun things that you can grow and harvest. And for some, it's their winter crop too.
Yeah. You know, it's funny you mentioned. Sorry to interrupt, John, but
no,
you mentioned these bulbs arrived that you forgot about, and that just reminded me. I ordered some alliums because I know that they don't do well here, but I wanted to give them a try, and I'm like, I need to follow up. Those should be arriving any day now, so I'm looking forward to that.
You probably want to plant those towards the end of the month, though.
Yeah. I definitely have some time to plant them, but I'm sure the company's going to ship them to me soon, right?
And in case they're not pre-chilled, you might want to pre-chill them.
I'll have to look at that, yeah.
You know, I don't think Melinda has trouble, the trouble that we have with gophers.
No.
But she pointed out that varmints don't go after daffodils.
Yeah, right.
And here in Southern California, where daffodils don't have to be pre-chilled and they do very well and will naturalize, it is a bulb that gophers will not go after. So
they tell you to even like mix those in
with your other bulbs,
in and around.
Yeah, so that would maybe prevent gophers. Yeah, so that's a good one for sure.
And that brings up a good point that if you can make it easy and be successful, you'll enjoy it. I think a lot of people start with tulips. I remember growing up, my mom would buy a bag of tulips, give them to my dad to plant, and he'd put them by the front steps. And, you know, a lot of them are bred to be very floriferous and beautiful, but not long-lived. And I think people get discouraged. And now daffodils, there's doubles, there's those with the split trumpets. There's so much variety that even if you do nothing but daffodils, you're going to have a lot of very interesting planting beds as well. Longfield Gardens has a great bloom times chart that gives you a guide for spring and summer bulbs. So if you want to have bulbs blooming from early spring through the summer into fall, they've got just a list so that you can kind of go through and plan your garden if you're kind of overwhelmed with, well, I want to get the maximum value of bloom time from these bulbs. And so that can kind of help you. It's just Longfield Gardens Bloom Times, a guide to spring and summer bulbs. And it's just a chart. And it gives you a list of bulbs and when they typically flower, early, mid, late spring, that type of thing. So I think a good resource to be helpful.
And, you know, other good resources, I was on your Facebook page earlier, and you had, and I don't know if it's continuing to happen right now, but you kind of had an ability for people to get discount on some Corona tools, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and there's a lot of tools for bulbs.
Deadline, so check it out.
Yeah, there's there's a lot of tools for bulbs as well, like plantings and, you know, the different trowels with the measure. You know, as I was talking about planting depth, you know, they there on the trowel they have the ruler so that you know how deep you're digging. So yeah, definitely go to Melinda Meyer's Facebook page. And is it a coupon code that you can get from there?
Yes, and so it's on my website as well as my Facebook page, and I'm pulling it up because I didn't remember what that was. But yes, just go to my website, melindamyers.com, or my Facebook page, and you'll find the Corona a link, and it is 15 summer. 15 summer is the code. So when you place your order, free shipping and 20% off. So it's they've been around for a long time. Quality tools, really great. And if you have a good tool to use and the job is easier, you'll do it. You know, it'll be more successful no matter what the weather is around you.
And we've got to take a break, but when we get back, I want to mention something about tools for everybody
Yeah.
to hear. So we're going to take a break and then get back, and we'll continue chatting with Melinda Myers.
And those on Biz Talk Radio, news coming up top of the hour, just a very few moments, and then we are back at 6 minutes after. And for the rest of us on Facebook Live, still plenty of time. Questions, comments. I see that Millie has a question here, so we're going to come back with Melinda Myers. A couple of questions perhaps, but do stay with us. A lot more happening as we continue on your weekend. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasker, Tiger Palafox here on Garden America. Stay with us. And, of course, on Biz Talk Radio, these messages coming your way. Back again, those on Biz Talk Radio. We are opening up hour number 2, so thank you for joining us. And again, a reminder, this is last week's program. If you do want to see us, hear us, watch us live, you can go to our Facebook page, Garden America Radio Show, every week, and you can interact with us, and you can see us live in studio and continue to be up to date. Now, before the break, we were continuing with Melinda Myers, so let's get back to it, Tiger, and maybe hit a question or two.
Yeah, and we were talking about the tools that she has a promo code for on her website. But, one of the things I was going to mention, especially for gardeners that, need different tools, they have a yard, then they're using different tools for different things. Corona is one of those brands I really like just from the standpoint of I would say it's a mid to high end tool. It's not cheap, but I wouldn't say it's, as expensive as like a Felco or some of the other,
But it's good quality.
It is. It's great quality. Yeah. And, some people will go to a garden center and buy the really cheap trowel or something. And when you invest in a good quality tool, it actually makes you want to use it more, and you don't lose it because you don't want to lose it.
It's expensive.
$20 trowel or whatever it is. So, there is worthwhile investing. You don't know how many $1.99 trowels I've lost just over the years. And then I don't have one when I need it.
I was thinking of this just yesterday. You know how they some retailers will have good, better, best.
Yeah.
And have you ever noticed there is no really good? It's crappy, better, best.
Yeah,
exactly.
So don't fall for it. I mean, there's really no point in buying cheap tools like that.
So yeah, sorry to break off a little bit there, but we mentioned the tools, Melinda, and I definitely support you in trying to get people to purchase good quality product tools for their for themselves to be able to use in the garden.
We do have
I have to tell you, I bed those crappy ones, the handle digging, and I invested in good ones. And if I've lent it to somebody, I stand right behind them until they're done using it, so I get it back.
John, we have a question, right, John?
Well, we had a question from Millie, but Melinda may not be quite as familiar with this subject. Millie wants to know if she needs to chill perennial tulips. And I'm not sure what she means by perennial, but we do have some tulip species that will come back in California, and one is like I know Melinda will know this, Tulip clusiana. And I'm thinking that if they're perennial in California, they probably don't need to be chilled.
Good question. So tulips are perennials, but the problem is, as I was kind of mentioning before, that they've been bred to be floriferous, and they don't always come back depending if the growing conditions aren't the best for them. And so a lot of the species tulips, even in my neck of the woods, they've classified them as perennial because they do tend to come back year after year after year. And some are low chill or no chill, like the ones you're mentioning, John, that
Right.
they're perennial and they don't need the chill. And then in my neck of the woods, it just means they'll come back year after year with flowers, as opposed to bloom the first couple of years and then you get nothing but leaves. And so you want to, just like any plant, make sure that it's suitable for your climate, and especially when you're in an area, Southern California and the parts of Texas and the South, where your winters are either non-existent compared to ours.
Right,
Sorry.
right.
They're not as cold and the bulbs won't get the chill they need, but there are those low chill, as you mentioned. So you're right. I don't know the perennializing ones for you, but like the Darwins and Tulip Atarta, you're right. That's a good choice, and often they'll even spread and naturalize, and some will even set seed, not take 5 years before you get flowers, but, we're gardeners, so we like those challenges, too.
Yeah, that is the truth.
I planted a blue amaryllis from seed, and it took 15 years before it bloomed.
But you didn't give up.
And then a rabbit came along and ate it.
No. I still have it now. I wanted to quickly mention for our California listeners that there is one tulip. It's a fringed tulip called Burgundy Lace that is a standard-sized tulip that for some reason does usually come back here in California.
Burgundy Lace tulip.
Yep.
All right. So Melinda, heading into the fall, heading into the winter, where you're at, what do you have on the horizon for yourself? You guys have any? Last time we talked to you, you had a whole slew of events that was coming up.
I'm doing an in-person at this beautiful bed and breakfast in the downtown Milwaukee area on hydrangeas, one of the hot topics, I think, in horticulture, right? So we're going to talk about planting, pruning, and care, and they have a beautiful garden, so I'm going to lecture for an hour, and then we're going to tool around the gardens. They're gorgeous. Our home improvement show, the fall home improvement shows on deck, so I'm going to talk about a few things, getting your garden ready and answering questions and indoor planting, and my webinars are continuing. I've got a few coming up on the 20th of October and the 27th, and so I hope people will continue to tune in. We've had a lot of fun. It's allowed me to reach gardeners everywhere. And you can tune in your pajamas or with your cup of coffee or your glass of wine, whenever you watch. And so it's been a lot of fun. So I'm hoping people will join me. It's been nice to get out in the public. I was just out at our Green Bay Botanic Garden on a beautiful sunny Saturday, lots of families, lots of new gardeners, lots of experienced gardeners. So it's nice to be outdoors chatting with people, and I think we've all missed each other, and talking gardening is always good, whether it's on the radio or in person.
Yeah, definitely is. Well, glad to hear, and good luck to you in the fall, and we will talk to you again soon. Thank you very much for joining us this weekend.
Hey, thank you guys. You always make my day. Take care.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Melinda. So there you have it. Is that enough bulb information for you?
Bulb.
There used to be a company in California called Davids and Royston. Do you remember them?
I know the name, but I don't necessarily remember exactly the company.
I thought one of their strong points was they carried a lot of South African bulbs.
Oh.
Which are perfect for Southern California.
And a lot of variety of South African. They
Right.
have a lot of bulbs in South Africa.
Right.
You know.
Right. Yeah, tons.
Yeah.
And because of similar climates, they do great here. And now those bulbs are hard to find. Like there's a lot of different varieties of Watsonia.
Yeah.
Watsonia just do great in Southern California.
We'll have to look
Even-
that up because, yeah, you're right. There's a lot of really neat
Right.
bulbs that come out of there. And as you mentioned, they'll do great in our climate. And people need to remember that. Yeah, that there's other parts of the world that have climate similar to us, and they
Right.
have completely different plants. And bulbs are one of those ones that fall off the list a little bit because, it's not always something people remember.
Bulbs. What do I do? How do they do what now? I can't just plant them. I got. So you're right in terms of.
But they ship so well that like a grower
Right.
in South Africa can easily,
Right.
ship to other parts of the world. So
Right.
that's awesome.
Brian wanted to learn about bulbs, and he picked up an autobiography of Thomas Edison, but didn't
Different
help.
bulb.
And I'm
didn't
starting a
help
new
at all.
bulb company myself called LED. LED bulb.
I think that's been trademarked.
Has it?
Yeah, you can't use it.
Well, then
No,
I'll trademark it again.
Well, there goes this video on Facebook.
Yeah, exactly.
It just
right.
got erased.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey.
How much time do we have before our next
We
break?
got. Let's see. Let's call it about 2.5 minutes.
Okay. Before we had Melinda on, John had mentioned natives that he had planted in the spring. They had done
Right.
well through the summer, and then at the end of the summer, they failed.
Started dying one by one.
Yes.
But they made it
And-
through most of the heat of the summer.
Yes, and that is a very common thing to happen with California natives. And what they attribute that to is the watering. So they actually prefer to dry out a bit more in the summer. And you probably continued the irrigation through the summer, huh, John?
Well, I didn't,
Well,
but
but-
my son did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
And-
on a timer. And
Yeah,
got-
and so
even though there was great drainage on the hill.
and that will happen. So a lot of times what will happen is if you do plant your California natives in the spring, definitely irrigate them to get them established, but probably right around, depending on where you're at. But I would say, late June, it's almost like you cut off the irrigation. And the plant doesn't look good. It definitely doesn't make it look better. The plant looks stressed. But
See,
if
mine
you,
looked lush and green.
well, but no,
That's
but
why.
I'm saying cut off the
Right.
water. And then you cut off the water, and the plants won't
Right.
look good for a while, but it'll keep it alive.
Right.
And see, the mistake that a lot of people make is they then continue to water it July,
Well,
August.
yeah, because it looks bad.
No, I mean,
So I was saying, like, the lush
Except
green
John's.
is a sign that something's going to happen.
yeah, yeah. And
We're
so
gonna take a break.
It's tough. They are tough.
So, stay with us during the break on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. Noticing we've got a lot of people still tuned in on Facebook Live. So, hey, whatever's on your mind, questions, comments, heading into the fall, there are things that we need to do, should be doing. So post your questions right there. Biz Talk Radio, going to take a break with our many fine sponsors on Garden America. So do stay with us as we continue on your weekend. This is Garden America. As promised, we are right back. We hope you're enjoying your weekend. This show is live as far as right now on October 2nd, but many of you listening to a pre-recorded broadcast, whether it's Biz Talk Radio or whether you went to our YouTube channel and found one of our shows, we go to our YouTube page, Garden America Radio. You can, like we say every weekend, you can pause, fast forward, rewind, go to any segment you want. And, of course, right here on our Facebook page, if you scroll down, all of our shows are also archived as well. So wherever you go, in fact, you can even go to gardenamerica.com. A lot happening on gardenamerica.com. As John always likes to say, www.gardenamerica.com.
And where I found that happening, John, is years ago I planted an Arbutus. I planted in the fall. It was perfect. It was growing great through the whole winter.
No, not
into
the
spring.
regular one. You're talking about the tree type, the, what is it, Menzii?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
The one with the really pretty bark.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. And so, it was doing great. And it was all on, I didn't even have it on irrigation.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And then I went out in the summer and I was like, oh, it looks a little bit stressed. I should give it some water. I'm like, oh, it's summer. It's hot. I'll just soak it.
Right.
2 days later, dead as a doornail. Like just
Wow.
so they those
So it's a
drought
root rot
tolerant.
probably, or-
It is,
Yeah.
and so it's for those drought tolerant plants. They really like to just stay completely dry in those really hot summer months. So what you could have done is, like I say, cut off the water in June, and then probably started back up in like November.
Like no
watering
water
again.
at all?
Like no water at all.
Wow.
Because like he mentioned, like they'll just continue to die out.
So
Even
they're
though
going to die anyway.
no, they're not going to die
No,
anyway.
But I'm saying as far as the cycle goes, they're going to look bad
they're going to
on
look
the surface.
bad. Yes, they're going to look bad in probably August, September. They're
to
not going to
many
look
people,
good.
they look dead to the
No,
lay eye.
They
They're
just
not
look
dead.
bad.
No, but they look when they look bad.
They look tired, Brian.
Yeah.
Tired is a better word.
In the way that I
Tired,
kind of
not dead.
Right.
the way I kind of describe it for people that live here in California or San Diego is, we have a lot of wonderful hiking trails all around our
Right.
county, and if you go out in the spring, all those trails look lush and green, and there's
Sure,
ceanothus
sure.
blooming and all kinds of wonderful stuff. Now, people don't realize that when they go out in September, it's still the same trails, still the same plants. They look like tumbleweeds,
Right.
but they're still there and they're still fine. Those are
So John,
to
you mean
crack.
tired like my hibiscus, not dead, but a little tired looking, peaked.
your hibiscus looks sick.
You haven't seen it. I will say this though, and I'm not going to attribute
I
this.
think he's teasing you.
I'm not going to attribute this to what I did, but it was certainly a coincidence. So as we talked about hibiscus being, rather heavy feeders, right?
Yeah.
I don't really have anything to feed them, but I have Milorganite.
Got
and I'm
it.
thinking, when's the last time I fertilized? I'm going to try some Milorganite. So 2 days later, I look at this hibiscus, and it's a little greener and looks a lot better. I don't think Milorganite could have worked that quickly, right?
Oh, it could.
Yeah.
I mean, to me, it was like, wow.
Yeah,
Deep,
because
deep
you're in a
green.
container. If you're in a container
Yeah.
with no nutrients, And even if they're organic, if you're adding a little something as you water, you're going to get, not as fast a reaction as you would with a water soluble.
Sure.
But it could have
It
definitely
looks a lot
helped.
better. It does
Yeah.
look a lot better.
You know,
And I
because-
brought you a special tonic today.
Today, yes.
From our
exactly.
friend Tatiana.
And I had
Anderson.
a glass in the kitchen. It didn't taste that good, but I feel better.
Tastes like lemonade, didn't it?
A little bit like lemonade. Hey, Rick wants to build a new raised bed or beds at his new house. What's the ideal size?
Something that you can reach across. So usually that's somewhere between like 3 and
Good
4
access.
feet wide.
Okay.
And then, I mean, lengthwise, sky's the limit there.
Doesn't
if
matter,
you can get
right?
around it. Yeah, people, the biggest thing is being
If
able
you're
to.
doing 4x8s, you don't have to cut wood as much because you can
you
buy
can buy lumber.
lumber in 8-foot lengths.
Yeah.
And if you cut an 8-foot in half,
Half.
it's 4 foot. So
Yeah,
I think just from being practical, 4x8 is fine.
yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you build them too big, you have to worry about bracing them so that they don't fall apart as you add soil into them.
Oh, that's true too. Like if you go like a 12-foot board,
Right.
and then it'll bow out in the
Right.
middle. Yeah, you got to support it. And then the other thing, I don't know if he's also wondering about this, is depth.
Oh, yeah,
If you're
right?
putting it on top of soil, there's really no need to go a 12-inch board, John. If you're just trying to create like some kind of like a little bit of a raised bed for plants,
Well, Rick has got pure clay underneath it.
right.
So, yeah, I kind of agree with what you're saying, because even if there is clay on the bottom,
It's
if
Everything's
it's
gonna
plugged in the
leach
roots,
and-
yeah,
yeah.
they're going to
Yeah.
go to the side. So,
Carolyn's got a lengthy question, John, you might want to look at.
but then to keep on Rick, then I also understand the idea that some people want the beds elevated because they're easier, they don't have to bend over as much. But then you're talking about just filling it up with a lot more soil, which
right.
it could be costly, and not even from a standpoint of using great soil. I only recommend you put great soil in the top 12 to 14 inches of a raised bed anyways, but you're still going to have to get yards of soil to fill in
Right.
those boxes sometimes.
Melinda from Reading says that she's hoping she has time to stop by Mission Hills Nursery when she's
While she's in
visiting here.
San Diego.
Oh, hope
Yeah.
you do as well. Yeah, let me know.
And then Ron mentions that once the daffodils are gone, once they've bloomed out, his mother sticks silk daffodils in the ground.
Well, because the foliage is still there, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
it's like, yeah.
And he says the neighbors don't know any difference. They enjoy them as
Still
they
got the
drive
curb
by.
appeal.
That's awesome. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And then what were you telling me, Brian?
Carolyn,
Carolyn.
right below Kathy.
Let's see. Carolyn was talking about Arbutus. She has one that blooms and has fruit all year round. Now that's probably the Arbutus unido.
Unido. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And she says that roots might have found the sewer, and she'd like to break from cleaning up the debris on the sidewalk and steps to the house. She says it was a 15-gallon size when they planted it several years ago. She said it's really pretty and popular with the neighbors. I'm not sure what the question is.
Maybe she's trying to get it to not fruit as much. Is she trying to? Because some of that could be solved with pruning. If you prune it at the right time of year, you remove if you remove the flowers, they won't create
I
fruit.
I think she's appreciating it,
Oh.
but anything that's really appreciated has to be looked after,
Yeah.
right?
And especially trees. People always want, I don't want a messy tree. I'm like,
And I
There-
want it
there
to
is
grow a
no-
certain height.
there is no not messy tree, and then they're like, oh, I want something to flower. It's like, oh, right then and there. It's messy then. You got flowers. They're going to be messy. They're going to fall.
Hey, we're going to take a break here, then we can get to Cheryl's question. She's looking for a source for bulbs.
Well, we also have Carla's question,
And
too.
Carla. So do stay with us. Hey, keep the questions coming. We have 2 more segments coming up, so a long way to go this morning here on Garden America, or perhaps you're listening to a pre-recorded broadcast. However you listen to us, we do appreciate it. So going to take a break here on Facebook Live. Also, messages on Biz Talk Radio. In fact, speaking of messages, we're going to come back after those messages on Biz Talk Radio, but a lot faster here on Facebook Live. Stay with us. Garden America keeps on rolling right along. On your weekend, if you are listening to us live or, again, as I mentioned before the break, pre-recorded, as we continue, lots of questions, lots of comments. Let's get back to it, gentlemen,
Yeah, so
including you, John.
Carolyn replied back, and she's looking to prevent some of the mess. Is that what it was?
No, she kind of agreed with what we were
Oh.
saying. She knows she has to put up with it. She enjoys the plant, but she wants to know when the time to prune the arbutus would be.
For like the general pruning rule.
Right.
What do you think, John? Winter as well?
I would say late spring.
Late spring?
Actually, it depends because it's going to bloom in the spring, right?
Right.
So if you're pruning it in the spring, you're going to cut off some of the bloom and therefore some of the
Some of
fruit,
the mess.
which would eliminate some
And
of
then
the
it's
mess.
going to get hot getting into summer.
But if you want the fruit and if you want the blooms, then probably the best time would be this time of year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
Arbutus is she's in Corona del Mar, Newport Beach area. So she's never going to have a hard freeze. The plants, most of the California natives and Mediterranean plants are actually going to be growing during the winter.
Yeah.
So there's no freeze to worry about. I would say this might be a good time of year to do it.
There you go.
Okay, then, this is from Carla. Well, you're answering your personal phone calls.
Oh, I
We'll
think
go to
that's
Carla.
spam, John. That's a lot of spam, which is coming back, by the way.
Hey, Carla says, let's just say that we want to limit, quotes, the number of crickets at her home.
Mm-hmm.
So especially around the entry doors. She read that Diatomaceous Earth is a good treatment. What do you think, Tiger?
Yeah, specifically tiger? Or
No.
No. Yeah.
John's asking Pacific Tiger.
I'm asking because I've never used successfully Diatomaceous Earth.
Yeah. I mean, the theory behind Diatomaceous Earth is valid on paper.
And it
but-
has to be dry because
Yeah.
if it gets wet, it dissolves.
and you kind of have to have like a barrier for them, and they have to cross it.
Right.
They have to go across it. They have to walk within it, kind of a thing.
And
So
then you've got the even if you are going to have an area where it's dry, then you can't sweep it up.
right, you got this like area around your border. So
Right.
so from the idea behind Diatomaceous Earth is that crawling insects, no matter whether ants, crickets, earwigs, silverfish, they walk over Diatomaceous Earth, and walking over Diatomaceous Earth to these insects is like walking over glass. So it shreds their underbellies, it shreds their feet.
Oh,
and,
nice.
It's kind of kind of a bit of torture, right? But I mean, it's all Diatomaceous Earth is crushed up sea shells and sea
Diatoms.
creatures, diatoms. Yeah.
Right. Microscopic crustaceans.
Yeah, so it's safe to use around a lot of other things.
By the way, for our listeners, you cannot use the same Diatomaceous Earth that you use for swimming pools.
Correct.
It's got to be the horticultural grade.
And to prevent the crickets around, I think that there's probably other
ways. Yeah.
There are other products that are more effective. And I mean, I hate to go to the chemical route, but there are a lot of really effective barrier sprays and even like little cricket trap things that you can put in place that would help you, I think, better than the Diatomaceous Earth. Just because, as John mentioned, to be really effective, you got to put this like barrier of Diatomaceous
Right.
Earth, and you have to leave it there. So like if your front entrance, you're going to have this, it looks like a white powder, and you're going to have this white powder just around your stoop.
It's nothing worse than white powder around your stoop.
Right. It
You
can
know what?
affect your stoop in so many ways.
If it was me, I actually would just go buy the Bayer Home Pest Control.
Yeah.
And, it comes in a spray bottle, a gallon size. And if it doesn't get wet, it'll last for 8 months. And I sprayed around my house because we were having, in a new home and fields all around, we were having things crawling in, earwigs specifically.
Yeah, you guys just disrupted that whole environment. Yeah, a lot of stuff.
And I haven't had any problems, and it's been a couple months, so that's what I would do.
I guess Rick missed our comment on his raised beds.
Well, the nice thing is that he can always go back and listen to it.
Right here on Facebook, Rick, or our Our YouTube channel. And by the way, this show will be posted usually in the morning next day. So this show here tomorrow will be posted on our YouTube channel early in the morning or mid-morning on Sunday.
And Cheryl asks an interesting question. She wants to know if we have a source for Watsonia bulbs, and because she's been looking online and can't find them. And I, last week, was doing the exact same thing, which led to my comment about David's and Royston, and now you can't get those bulbs. I remember David's and Royston used to have 6 different colors of Watsonia. Ooh. And I couldn't find them anywhere online. I found the same thing Cheryl did, that Annie's Annuals listed them, but they were out of stock.
And usually they sell plants, right? Do they sell the bulbs?
No, they sell the plants.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's different species. You can't really get bulbs from Southern or South Africa. You can get seed and grow your own bulbs. There is a company called Telos, T-E-L-O-S, T-L-O-S, Telos.
T-E-L-O-S.
T-L-O-S.
Telos.
T-E-L-O-S, rare bulbs, Telos rare bulbs. And you can sometimes get Watsonia from them, and I did check, and I can't remember whether I found any. But the problem with Telos is that they sell the rarest bulbs there are, but they're usually really small, and you have to grow them on. Because I wanted a Brunsvigia, and I don't know if you're familiar with Brunsvigia, but I should have told you about those because you like alliums, right?
Yeah.
And
those like Allium schubertii that had the big, huge flowers.
Right.
Well, Brunsvigia is way prettier than those, but the same type of thing.
All right, but they'll do, and they're South African, so they'll do well where we're at.
They will, but the problem is that the only place I could find them was at Telos Rare Bulbs.
Oh.
And so I got my bulbs, and that was 6 years ago. And I was thinking to myself the other day, whatever happened to those? Because
6 years ago.
Yeah, they haven't bloomed yet. But I was thinking, I grew these things for 6 years. Where are they? Did I think they were empty, or the pots were empty, and I threw them out? And then just this week, I found the pots, and I had mixed them with some Hemathis. I thought they were all 4 pots of Hemathis, but only 2 of the pots were growing. And then I realized, the other 2 are the Brunsvigia. So I'm hoping to get blooms this year. I think they're now big enough to where they'll bloom.
It's a long time to wait.
It is a long time to wait. A Brunsvigia.
Brian would much rather walk back by a dumpster and see something and
pull it out.
Get it.
Josephi, I think is the name. Is it Josephi? Is that?
I'm looking at Brunsvigia bosmani, grandiflora, Gregori.
No, not Gregori.
Jophinet.
Yeah, that's it.
And I don't see the picture of the Jophinet.
Oh, you have to go to images on Google.
Okay.
If you go to Google and you
It's
check
like a painted
images,
lady, but they seem shorter, or not a naked lady. A naked lady.
they look like naked ladies.
That's the plant.
What website are you on over there? Anyway, the Brunsvigia are awesome. And they also have another bulb that I've been fascinated with ever since I saw it at, where did I see this? It was one of the flower shows, maybe the San Francisco Flower Show. Somebody had a bulb there that I was completely fascinated with. But again, the same thing. I've been waiting 5 years for it to get big enough. And I'm hoping that this year it'll bloom.
Ooh, I'm looking at the Ferraria.
Yeah, he's going. Would you go down a rabbit hole there, Tiger?
Exactly.
Ferrari is another South African bulb.
Yeah.
If you're in Berkeley, if you're ever in Berkeley and you go to UC Berkeley, they have an entire hillside that's South African bulbs.
Ooh, cool.
And if you go there in the spring, you'll see the Ferraria, Crispa, and all different kinds of things coming up.
Ooh, that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Ferraria are smaller bulbs or smaller flowers.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell by the pictures. So,
Yeah,
but they seem shorter too.
About like an inch.
The flowers
really
about an inch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Really bizarre looking, though.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Really extreme looking daylily style flower. Yeah.
Well, I think we can probably go to the break now.
Yeah.
Stretch it out a little bit here, which means we have one more segment coming up after this. Still a lot of people tuned in, so Whatever's on your mind, we'll take more questions, more comments here on Facebook Live. Again, like I said, one more segment. We're going to take a break. I'm Brian Main, John Bagnasco, Tiger Palafox here. Thank you for joining us here on Garden America. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Okay, we are back for our final segment. Those wondering what Tiger's doing during the break, he did a good job, too, holding up the Garden America sign there, the logo. Share with your friends, Garden America, because we are a growing experience. We did not steal that from anybody. That was ours.
Oh,
the
yeah?
growing experience
Yeah?
was ours.
Okay. I don't think that they were wondering. I think people that were watching the
No.
show knew exactly
Knew
what I
exactly?
was doing.
This?
Exactly.
Thought maybe you were at a
So-
concert or something?
Yeah.
But
right.
if you weren't looking at your computer, I was looking at you and I was wondering what.
Well,
are
yeah,
you
but the
doing?
only two people that would be wondering
like-
that are the two people in this room. Everybody else
Knew.
knew.
Is somebody somebody pointing a gun at Tiger? Is he being held up? What's going on?
Oh,
So that in mind, I think we're caught up on everything
nice.
on Facebook Live.
All right. So this time of year, as John mentioned, the biggest change that people need to consider is the shorter daylight hours, because that makes a huge effect on watering and
absolutely.
evaporation. And people we mentioned earlier, like, oh, it's still hot out. You're right, it is still hot out. And but if there's 2 less hours of the day for the sun to be out, and that means 2 less hours of good evaporation, that's a lot of water that stays around. And I've noticed it because the way I look at it is my lawn, because I can, see if it's drying out. And I started walking out to my lawn last week, and I'm like, man, it's staying a lot wetter than
Yeah.
it had. And I'm like, that's weird because it's still been hot. And
Right.
I know we got rain and all that, but I was like, it's still kind of weird. But then exactly what John said.
Longer
I'm like,
nighttime
oh,
hours,
yeah.
longer cooling.
And it's cooler at night. And so big difference. And so the plants, John, on how that affects them from growing as well is different. So as you mentioned, it's kind of funny. Some plants begin to grow with the lower daylight hours as well. This is their kind of time that they go, oh, now it's time for me to grow. It's starting to cool off. So people think, longer daylight hours seems like everything should be growing, but it's hot and it actually can sometimes stunt their growth. So now, that podocarpus hedge that I have in my house, that's where I start to see the big growth starting to happen is during the next few months, which I'm excited to see as well.
Some of the inland areas in Southern California, like Palm Springs, their summer is almost like winter in the Northeast. It's
Yes.
just a dormant season. Everything stops growing and just tries to survive the heat, just like plants in the Northeast try to survive the cold.
Yeah.
Just shut down, and there you have to stop your watering too.
Yeah. You got to be careful with that. So
Unless you have something like plumeria, which is
you can just hook up your hose straight to it.
right.
Yeah. Those are in all my plumerias are in full bloom right now.
Speaking of that, I wanted to get back to that because I have the one big, huge plumeria. I mean, it's just huge, spreading out, no blooms. And I'm going to attribute it to not as much sun as I should have in that patio. I'm getting less and less
part
sun
of
now.
it.
part of it, but you probably haven't fertilized it well. Like John,
I could kick-
John now switched over to the dark side, and he uses a high bloom fertilizer for
Only on the
plumerias.
plumeria.
And
nothing
I'll do
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
I think one of those.
it's huge.
one of
It
those
looks good.
Ones Tatiana gave you, I think, is a blooming fertilizer.
Yeah,
Can't
you might
remember.
try that.
Yeah.
And because even though it may say for hibiscus, as John says, plants can't read.
Yeah.
So you can use it on something else. Just because there's not a picture of a plumeria on the bottle.
Yeah.
Same
you
thing, same
especially
purpose.
got a special fertilizer she sent for you was a mango fertilizer.
Yeah.
which I'm going to use on the citrus.
And not on the mango you're going to order?
I'm going to use it on the my cuties, right?
You know, Tatiana
Yep,
said that she was really shorted on her mangoes. She has very few available this fall.
Well, see, we've got a little problem with room now.
I know, but this is a small plant. Did you read the description? I asked you to read it. I'm sure you didn't even do it.
No, I didn't do it.
Because I know you. You're thinking, I'm not going to read it. I'm not going to get one. I don't care what Dana wants.
Brian,
No, it was to spite you.
Brian, I only live like 5 minutes away from here.
From here, yes.
Where you work every day.
Yes.
Okay. I will rent you some space in my yard, and you can keep your own plants, and you can come over and maintain them. And-
Or better yet,
He rent.
now I
Rent.
can read Brian's mind. Better yet, why don't you grow the mango and give me the fruit?
Yeah, that's what Brian. Yeah.
So top tropicals.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to look up the definition because she had about 6, I think it was, what we talked about before, condo mangoes.
Mm-hmm.
Send me the link. If you send me the link,
I did send you the link.
I don't know what happened to that email. Because did you send it here or Gmail? See,
I think I
that's
sent it here.
we ping pong back and forth. This is a dangerous place to send it to. Always send it to my Gmail. There's less traffic, less going on.
But then I do that, and then you say, "Well, send it to me. I'm at work."
Well, if I'm at work and there's something that's immediate that you need answered, are we going to bring plants in? Is it next week?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Next week.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we're gonna bring in our favorite plants.
Right. No guests next week.
Yeah, we're gonna just
More
be talking
of you
plants.
watching.
All right, where am I going to send this to?
I'll just
His
give you my
Gmail.
email address right
Yeah,
over the
his
air.
Gmail.
No,
you
no.
know,
my
Do you want
Gmail.
it to the Gmail?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to send this to you. And the first link that's on there,
Takes me to the mango.
there's a bunch of links for different mangoes, but the one you want is a variety called
Condo.
Carry.
Oh, I thought it was condo
They're
mango.
all condos that she sent you in this.
But the carry one is that's the one you're recommending.
Yes.
All right.
And the reason I'm recommending it, I will tell you as soon as I get this sent, because I can't talk and use the computer at the same time.
okay.
So you guys just go ahead.
Yeah, we got about, let's see, Tiger, we've got just about a minute to go.
Perfect. So, you know, the other thing I was going to mention for this time of year, we were talking about the daylight hours, but you know, everybody wants to get now into that fall look.
Yeah,
So
yep.
the mums are definitely hitting, you know, the market. You know, your pansies and snapdragons will be coming out as well. But be careful with the heat on those, because even though we just talked about, the daylight hours and it is cooling off, they don't like it when those temperatures during the day get real hot.
Yeah.
And they'll melt is what we call them. So, you know, if you're in a hot area, you still have some time to wait. I mean, for people here in San Diego, end of October is probably your time that you really want to start thinking fall plants. I know,
Right.
what was it last week when we talked about fall veggies? And, you know, the thing people need to remember, we were talking about like starting from seed, because
Right.
plants right now, no.
Right.
That's going to do it.
But you should plant sweet peas right now.
Okay.
Hey, do we have time for
No,
the
we-
description on the condo mango?
We don't. You can give it to me after the show.
I'm going to read it to you after the show.
Okay.
Anyone else can go to toptropicals.com and look for Carrie, Carrie, mango.
And with that, John's got the last word this week. Thank you for tuning in. That is going to do it. Have a great weekend. We'll see you again next week right here, Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live with your friends here on Garden America. Brian Main, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. Till next week, be safe. Take care.